Hey everybody, it's Joe Bob John 1 and 2 for a new video on my channel. Not new in the scope of YouTube, but for me it's new. I'm just going to be giving my honest thoughts on Breath of the Wild, specifically for Zelda Month. The man who created Zelda Month, he was giving people an opportunity to share their Zelda Month stuff, and I figured that's the best way for me to get out of less than double digits of views every single video. Might help me get a little bit more traffic on my channel. But like, again, it's not just that. I wouldn't be making a video specifically about this if it was just that. No, I played Breath of the Wild and it was fun. And before I go any farther, I should note there will be spoilers for Breath of the Wild. Nothing visual, as you can see at this point. I just have Splatoon 2 battles going on because recording footage for something like this takes both prep time and a lot of memory, which I have neither of those. Memory in terms of computer storage, stuff like that. So I just recorded some battles in Splatoon 2. Hopefully that can tide you over. It's mostly just going to be me talking anyway. That's important for this. But yeah, I will be verbally acknowledging spoilers in Breath of the Wild. And at the end of the video, I will be talking about my general thoughts on the current state of Zelda Month. Which, like, first off, I'm just fine with what PVG did. More detailed stuff about that at this time shown in the description. No, in a comment. I will post a comment, and that'll save the time. Because iMovie doesn't, it says minutes and decimals for some reason. It's really dumb. But that's beyond that. Anyway, spoilers beyond this point. Clear out now if you don't want them. Play the game and then get back to me, or watch a playthrough, whatever, however you prefer. But yeah, 3, 2, 1. You're on your own. All right. So, did I think that Breath of the Wild was a good game? Obviously, it's freaking fantastic. It is the second most played game on my Switch, only to Splatoon 2, and that's just because Splatoon 2 has more content, being an online game and everything. Although I haven't finished the Breath of the Wild Master Trials, that DLC, and I'll get back to it when the December DLC rolls around. What is it, Champion's Ballad? But I'm also busy playing Mario Odyssey. I'll probably make a video about that in this format sometime later down the line. That's neither here nor there. I'm here to talk about Breath of the Wild. And, well, I thought that it was a good game. I prefer it over Skyward Sword, and as a Zelda game, I prefer it over Hyrule Warriors. I still liked Hyrule Warriors. It didn't really feel like there were definitely a lot of problems with it, and there are some Zelda games that I prefer over it. Could be potentially out of nostalgia. I don't know. But the main problem that I feel with Breath of the Wild is that there was a bit too much of a focus on giving people free reign, which, like, that may sound counterintuitive to people. Of course, that's what it's supposed to be. And again, these are just my honest thoughts, as the title would suggest. My honest thoughts, my honest opinions. You're free to have your own opinions. If you think that this game is the pinnacle of gaming and everything else is downhill from here, then you have that opinion. If you think that this game is garbage and no one should buy it, then you have that opinion. But I think it was really good. It was really enjoyable, but it wasn't as enjoyable while playing it as some of the earlier 3D Zelda games were. It was a more fulfilling experience afterwards, but in the moment, it wasn't as fun. may sound kind of weird to you, but hear me out. Hear me out on this. The main thing, the main criticism of most Zelda games for the past few years was an over focus on the plot of the game and kind of throwing gameplay to the wayside, making the games too linear. Which, yes, linear Zelda games are not like the series roots in the first game, or Link to the Past, but it still ended up making good games. I have so many good memories from like from Wind Waker, Twilight Princess, Skyward Sword. I probably would from Majora's Mask if I have played that. I need to get on that, but a Star-Lord from Twilight Princess, what's his name, Galactos from Skyward Sword. Those were some of the best boss fights that ever had the joy of playing through, and you don't really get that in Breath of the Wild. That may just be because there are less bosses, but the like because of it because of the game giving you the choice of where you want to go, you can't really have a sense of escalating difficulty. All the bosses have to be approximately the same difficulty, and all the main story bosses anyway, and they just end up looking the same more or less. They don't have any sort of memorable design, except for I guess Waterblight and his healing from the ceiling, what the heck, hanging from the ceiling business going on there. When you bring him down to half health, but talking about the bosses brings me to another thing that was criticized about previous 3D Zeldas. It was that you go into a dungeon, you find an item, and then from that item you can immediately determine the way that you're going to beat the boss. You got a hook shot, then you're probably going to climb up to something and smack the boss a few times. You got a bow and arrow, you shoot a giant glowy eye. You get a hammer, you're probably going to smash something. And now, I just have a question for you. Which would you rather have? The same method for finding out how to defeat a boss, or the same method for defeating the boss? Which would you prefer? Because from as far as I can tell, the same method for defeating the boss basically works against all but four bosses in Breath of the Wild, three of which are only actual bosses. And that, my friends, is arrow spam. Master Koga, you shoot him with arrows. Hinox, you shoot him in the eye with an arrow, and then he's stunned for a while, and you shoot him with more arrows. Stone Talus, shoot him in the ore deposit, and then he gets knocked out, and shoot him with more arrows. You get friggin' sandworm thing, whatever that was called. You throw a bomb at him to get him out of the sand, and then you shoot him with some arrows. Basically, every single one of the blights, you shoot him with arrows. The only exceptions to this really being second phase Water Blight, just because you don't really have as much footing to deal with. Thunder Blight, because geez, he moves way too fast for you to get any kind of decent shot lined up. Then Calamity Ganon for the last eighth of his health in his first form, just because he doesn't get hurt by anything unless if you use Zerbos' Fury or deflect one of his attacks. And heck, even Dark Beast Ganon, which is the final form, I believe I'm saying that right. I forget exactly what the name is, but I think that's it. Even Dark Beast Ganon, you're only given the arrow to use. That's the only thing that's effective against him. And the only other thing that can kind of be considered bossy that isn't too affected by arrows would be the Lionels, and that's just because they don't really get stunned too easily. And this arrow spam technique works for other things too. You got some Bokoblins, shoot them with arrows. You got some Lizafos, shoot them with arrows, as long as they don't notice you and rush up to your face. Even then, you can still shoot them with your arrows. You got some, well, the Yiga warriors I don't really find too easy to shoot with arrows, but you got some Guardians, shoot them in the face with an ancient arrow, they die immediately. Just one shot to the eye, they die. It's like, people get mad for one boss in a Zelda game having glowy eyes, but everything has glowy eyes in this game. Everything has glowy eyes for arrows. And, like, I don't know. It just bothers me that people get mad at lazy design for setting up a boss, but don't particularly get mad at lazy boss design in general. Like, sure, stuff like Bloodborne and Dark Souls, games like that are fine, but that's only because you only really have one method of fighting the boss, which is with your weapon, with your one, maybe two weapons, depending on what you have. But in this case, you could use like your friggin' tablet abilities with like Magnesis, Cryonis, Stasis, which like admittedly you do use, but you only really end up using once, like except for Water Blight. He's the only one that I had to use it multiple times, where I had to repeatedly use Cryonis in order to break the balls of ice that he sent at me. And Windblight Ganon, there's so much problem with the Rito section of the game that I just don't want to get into right now. I hate that section. The boss is too easy. There's no setup. What kind of relation does Teba have to Rivali anyway? I think it's Teba. All the other helping characters in the sections, Prince Sidon, you got Riju, and I'm forgetting the Goron's name right now. All of them have personal connections to the champion. For Riju in the Goron's case, it's they're the champion's child, and for Sidon, he's the brother of he was Mipha's brother. But what does Teba what relation does Teba have to Rivali? I don't think it's ever said anywhere except for like deep lore bits, which you would have to go through. Which like I watched a video recently which explained the difference between story and plot, and how games can work with a lot of story but very minimal plot, which seems to be the route that Breath of the Wild is going, where there's a lot of information, but it isn't really presented to you too conveniently, which was a major strength of the past 3D Zelda games. It was very hard to miss the story at all. Yes, because they forced you along a linear path, but still. Also, the items, which yes, you get them all immediately in the first area, and they're pretty useful. They're pretty useful in most situations throughout the game. But there is a legitimate amount of joy of finding a random item in a dungeon that is just a completely new way of thinking about how to go about crossing chasms and stuff. Like in most games, Nintendo has been pretty consistent about making the hookshot fun to use in Zelda games. Like, yes, you can say whatever you want about the double claw shot being kind of useless if they just put a ledge in certain places, but dang it, it's fun, man. it's really fun to use those things, especially in the dungeon that they're made for. But like in Breath of the Wild, it's just like hi, I'm a champion that you used to know 100 years ago. You have to find a terminal. Then you have to find 5 other terminals. Then you have to go to the big terminal and fight the boss. Again, freaking you. Everyone gets all over past Zelda games for being uncreative with dungeon layout, but this is the least creative that dungeon layout has ever been. Now, granted, there are the shrines, which also in terms of decor are very, very uncreative. I personally like the blessing shrines the most, just because you're seeing different stuff, and you're going through a completely seemingly unrelated quest to do some stuff that you probably haven't seen before, which is why people like Eventide so much. And then you go into a place and you just have your reward. You don't have to do some extra dumb stuff to get your reward that you should have gotten like 10 minutes ago. Frick. I don't know. Also, the game hates completionists. There is probably no one who will debate that, but you got the 900 odd Korok seeds, you got the 120 shrines, which that amount of shrines is fine. And you don't need all the Korok seeds, but again, completionists. And the worst part of all, your percentage of completion is based on how many areas of the map you have walked to. Like, do you expect me to walk everywhere in a game that is designed to free exploration? You get to choose your way to get from point A to point B, but you have to go. But then in the end, if you want to get completion, you have to go to C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, P as well. Just, I still think that the game is fun, and I'm. Just look at my record for amount of time poured into that game on my Switch, and you will definitely see that I think that game is fun. But there are glaring problems with it, and that's also the main problem. It might just be because I'm getting older. It's harder to get nostalgia for something, especially this early after having played it. But there don't really seem to be many nostalgia forming moments in here, especially if you miss if you end up missing the 12 memories. Actually 18, I think there are total, but what is it? Four from the various champion regions, uh, 2 from the Master Sword era, and 2 from the Korok Forest, and 1 for getting all the others. So, plus 12. I think that's around 18 or something. I forget how many. But the point is that besides the story ones, they're rather easy to miss. And if you're not going for the story, then you're going to miss the other ones too. And you just don't really understand what's happening. And the game ends off with Zelda asking you if you truly remember her. Which is... I don't know, it sits wrong with me. Whereas, again, Twilight Princess, you have a bunch of nostalgia building moments. I guess just because I was 9 when it came out, it was easier for me to make nostalgia out of that stuff. But Star-Lord, using the spinner for the first time, going through, I forget what it was called, but the snow mansion with the Yeti in it. I like their soup. Their soup was nice. But anyway, I think that if I talk too much longer about this, I'll be rambling. I've already been going for 20 minutes now. So anyway, if you just wanted my opinion of the game, it's fun, but it has some very glaring issues, and it's not too particularly made for nostalgia. It's not made for good memories. It's made for a good experience. That's basically what I'm trying to say. But yeah, if you just want my honest opinion, then you can end the video here. Because now I'm just going to be talking about my thoughts on Zelda Month. Because that is my whole inspiration for making this video in the first place. Alright, you're gone. If you don't want to hear me talk about Zelda Month, good. Okay. So, PBG didn't do Zelda Month this year, but instead he did Mario Month because, from my interpretation of what he said anyway, he seemed to be restricted. It seems like he felt restricted as a creator, having to make Zelda videos for a whole month. And, like, I mean, who could blame him? It's an approximate rate of one Zelda game per year. Approximately, maybe, like, probably even less than that. And he would have had to make 4-ish videos, one per week, every year, plus however many of his gameplay videos he would make. And, he's gonna run out of content to make, specifically focusing on Zelda anyway. So he decided to switch over to doing Mario for a while, which, like, I see no problem in that. If you feel like your creativity is being restricted, then you just change what you're doing. He handled it really, really well. And he gave people like me the opportunity to make some videos make some Zelda videos in his stead, which I also find nice, mostly because it could potentially get me some more subscribers and stuff. Because I have less than 20. But like, I hope he doesn't stop doing Zelda Months altogether for the rest of time. And knowing Peanut Butter Gamer for the past, I don't know, 7-ish years, however long I've watched Peanut Butter Gamer, it's been a while, majority of his YouTube career. It doesn't seem like he will stop Zelda Month entirely. It definitely has a place in his heart for him. He just needs to step away for a little bit, which, like, again, fair enough. That is the right thing to do when you're getting tired. And what I'm personally hoping happens is, like, he just alternates every year. Like this year, Mario Month, 2018 Zelda Month, 2019 Mario Month, 2020 Zelda Month again. Just repeating. I don't know, he might run out of ideas with that, and then he could just add another month if he feels like it. But, like, I don't know, the point is that he's celebrating what he loves. And honestly, for a creator, that's the best thing that you can hope to have happen, and I'm really happy for him. But yeah, anyway, I think that's it for this video. I am running out of stuff to say. So whatever battle is happening on screen right now, I'ma just let that finish out for you and end the video there. Hope you guys liked it. Please subscribe. I need subscribers. I at least need the views. Please. Thank you, and thank you for listening to me ramble for the majority of 30 minutes, for the majority of half an hour, and I hope you all have a nice night or evening if you're on the West Coast, or whatever time of day it is if you're watching this in the future, which is very probable. See you guys later, whatever next video I do.